We meet today at a time when the Gaza Strip in Palestine, after 17 years of siege, is witnessing an unprecedented chapter of horrors against defenseless Palestinian civilians. Deadly and blind attacks are spreading death and pain with no limits and fueling hatred for the next generations. For the first time in modern history, such level of crimes is perpetrated by a coalition of the most sophisticated military means of the world against unarmed and innocent civilians, children, women and UN personnel, and even patients inside the hospital's operating rooms. And this is to be added to the extreme violence due to the denial of all the Palestinians' rights for more than 75 years. The international community has consciously avoided to assume its responsibilities to prevent and immediately stop this barbaric aggression and hold the occupying entity accountable for this genocide. This organized inability is destroying the credibility of the multilateral system and transforming our world into a big jungle. It also constitutes a dramatic failure of the narrative of those very parties presenting themselves as a beacon of democratic values and freedoms. Now we are fully aware of the limited impact of our today's meeting and well aware of the real forces that have always governed our abusively called multilateral system. But today the gap is becoming unbearable between the initial objectives of multilateralism and its effective achievements, particularly among international public opinions, with a global discrediting of the multilateral system as never before. What we say and affirm can no longer justify or hide what we are really doing or letting do. At high speed, our world is confirming to be governed solely by the force of arms on the one hand and by the predatory and irresponsible economy on the other, the two being most of the time linked. Actually, this dynamic has always been present, but today this is becoming crystal clear, putting in imminent danger, like never before, our right to life as well as the security of the planet and its survival. We have even reached the point where a single country can counter the position of the overwhelming majority of the international community on a crucial issue of fundamental human right, the right to life. The genocide in Gaza, with all its components, is a complete and shameful illustration of the failure of our system created since 1948. All the international achievements are today challenged, since the essence of international good governance has been affected. However, despite this picture and this level of failure, Tunisia wanted to be present and to recall, in accordance with its history, its avant-garde, visionary and humanist positions throughout all eras, having always been on the side of solutions and never of the problems, such as colonizations, world wars, atomic bombs, economic wars, land grabbing with the elimination of the original peoples, or the destruction of our planet. Thus, at the global level, unfortunately, only force counts, and there is no longer any break against any abuse. The law of force replaces the force of law. Innocent children are led to be killed, but red lights are scrupulously respected. And by doing so, some give themselves a good conscience and even the right to provide lessons. This is why Tunisia reiterates its position on the immediate need to undertake radical and democratic reforms at the level of global political, economic and financial governance for greater accountability, credibility and efficiency, if this is really what we are looking for. We call on those who continue to adopt an irresponsible attitude to restore their credibility and act in accordance with their international obligations. We also call on media and journalists to carry out their duties in impartiality and professionalism and to preserve what can still be preserved of what is called freedom of expression. It is no longer acceptable to adopt such a narrative which makes no difference between the colonizer attacker and his victim. The policy of arrogance and terror adopted for decades has clearly failed in undermining the determination of the Palestinian people to claim their own land and rights. The world can no longer turn a blind eye on the real essence of the conflict, which remains an issue of occupation, land confiscation, illegal settlement, and systematic human rights violations and genocide of a people since 1948. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Tunisia renews its categorical rejection of all forms and attempts of eviction and forced displacement of Palestinians. We call on the international community to draw the right lessons from distant and recent history and from past and present tragedies to end colonialism and empower the Palestinian people with all their legitimate and internationally recognized rights. Tunisia always stood for peace based on justice and will remain totally supportive for just causes, as for the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, freedom and independence. I thank you.